You know, I invented a new acronym, USEC, United States of Civilizational Erasure. I am not being clever here. I am being precise. When I read this document, this national security strategy that the White House published in November, I had this strange feeling. Not shock, not surprise. Something worse, recognition. Here is what they do not tell you about ideology. It works best when it tells you exactly what it is doing. The most effective lie is the one that presents itself as brutal honesty. And this document, this is not a strategy, this is a confession. A 33-page admission that what we call American civilization has decided to commit suicide. But, and here is the obscene genius of it, to call this suicide self-defense. Let me be clear from the start, this is not about Trump. Trump is not the disease, Trump is the symptom speaking. He is ideology with its mask off, telling you directly what the system has always been doing quietly. The question is not, how did we get here? The question is, why are we surprised? This sounds absurd, but this is exactly the point. You see, we are told constantly that we live in the era of threats to Western civilization. Terrorism, authoritarianism, cancel culture, whatever. But what if I told you that the greatest threat to civilization is not its destruction from outside, but its self-erasure from within, performed in the name of saving it? This is the obscene truth hiding in plain sight. Look at what this document actually says. It speaks of reorienting military resources, of confrontational posture toward Europe, of withdrawing cultural support, of treating allies as economic competitors, of, and I love this phrase, civilizational priorities. But here is what they mean. Civilization as brand management. Civilization as real estate portfolio. Civilization as the right to extract resources and call it strategy. When Trump nominates Mel Gibson, Sylvester Stallone, and Jon Voight to guide Hollywood, this is not incompetence. This is precision. These are not artists. These are franchises. Rambo, Braveheart. Symbols without substance. Action without thought. Do you see what is happening? Art is being replaced by IP. Culture by content, civilization by simulation. And we are supposed to applaud this as populism, as anti-elitism. No, no, no. This is not anti-elite. This is the purest form of elite cynicism. The cynicism that does not even bother to hide anymore. Let me give you the obscene formula. Freedom today means the freedom to not think, to not create, to not question, as long as you consume correctly and obey quietly. This is what I call the ideology of depoliticized autonomy. You are free to choose, but only from options already selected for you. You are free to speak, but only sentences already approved. You are free to create, but only content that fits the algorithm. And if you refuse, you are not censored. No, no. You are simply irrelevant. You are outside the frame. You do not exist. This is why the attack on the Kennedy Center matters. It is not about budget cuts, it is about declaring that culture, real culture, the kind that disturbs and provokes and makes you uncomfortable, is an enemy of the state. Where are the good old days of the 1950s when the CIA funded translations of T.S. Eliot into Eastern European languages? When abstract expressionism was a weapon against communism? When America at least pretended that civilization mattered? Now the state funds nothing except its own mythology. A well-dressed person with a hollow face filled with advertisements and social media icons, dystopian realism, symbolic capitalism critique, high contrast lighting, cinematic shadows, ultra-realistic. Let me tell you a story, small story, everyday story. A few weeks ago I was in an airport, American airport, I will not say which one. And I see this installation, digital screens everywhere, hundreds of them, all showing the same thing, advertisements for experiences you should want, luxury you should desire, destinations you should visit. But here is the beautiful, terrifying detail. Between the ads, there are these little messages. Security is freedom. Vigilance is care. Your data keeps you safe. And people, normal people, good people, they walk past these screens and they do not even see them anymore. The messages have become wallpaper. Reality itself. This is what I mean by civilizational erasure. Not dramatic destruction, just slow replacement. Thought replaced by slogan. Art replaced by ad. Reality replaced by brand. And if you point this out, you know what they tell you. You are overthinking it. It is just advertising, relax. But this just is doing all the work. This just is precisely where ideology operates. It is just entertainment. It is just business. It is just politics. It is just how things are. No, this just is the most violent word in the language. It is the word that naturalizes horror. It is the word that makes you complicit in your own erasure. Here is what the National Security Strategy document understands perfectly. You do not need to destroy civilization. You just need to make people forget what civilization was supposed to be. You replace museums with gift shops, libraries with content platforms, universities with job training, art with product placement, thinking with engagement metrics. And the genius, the absolute genius, is that you do all of this in the name of freedom, accessibility, democratization. We are making culture available to everyone. No, you are making culture impossible for anyone. Let me be even more precise. What we are witnessing is not the end of civilization. It is worse. It is civilization continuing, but as pure form without content. The rituals remain, the institutions remain, the words remain, but they no longer mean anything. This is the true horror. Not destruction, but zombification. Not death, but undead. You still have elections, but politics is dead. You still have news, but journalism is dead. You still have schools, but education is dead. You still have art, but culture is dead. Everything functions, nothing works. And now let us talk about what the document refuses to talk about. Let us talk about Gaza. You want to see civilizational erasure? I will show you civilizational erasure. There is this drone footage, long unbroken shot, flying over Gaza. And what do you see? Nothing. Not buildings, not streets, not neighborhoods, just rubble. Kilometers of rubble, civilization reduced to dust. Literally. And you know what is obscene? Not the destruction itself. War is always obscene, but the discourse around it. The way it is justified, the way it is explained, the way it is sold. We are defending ourselves. We are protecting our citizens. We are ensuring security. Security. This word again, security. Do you see how this word has become the universal justification? Security justifies surveillance. Security justifies war. Security justifies occupation. Security justifies genocide. But here is the question no one asked. Security for whom? Security from what? Because I will tell you what I see. I see people who are so secure that they can bomb hospitals and call it defense. I see people who are so secure that they can destroy entire cities and call it strategy. I see people who are so secure that they can watch children starve and call it collateral damage. This is not security. This is the opposite of security. This is total insecurity performing as total security. And Israel's security minister, I love this detail, he wears this golden pin in the Knesset, December 8, 2025. You know what the pin shows? A noose, celebrating a proposed law to expand death penalty. They are not even hiding it anymore. The symbolism of death worn proudly, publicly as policy. Do you understand what is happening here? This is not madness. This is perfect sanity. The sanity of a system that has decided death is acceptable, efficient, justified. And this connects directly to the American national security strategy. Because what Gaza shows us is the logical endpoint of civilizational priorities. When civilization becomes just your civilization, when security means only your security, when human rights apply only to your humans, the mask comes off. And underneath is not even violence. It is bureaucratic violence. Violence as policy, violence as document, violence as strategy. This is the ultimate obscenity. Violence presented as reason, extermination presented as security, erasure presented as civilization. So what do? This is always the question. What is the solution? And here is where I must disappoint you. I have no solution. Because the problem is not the kind of problem that has solutions. Let me explain. We are used to thinking that problems are things we can fix. Bad policy, change the policy, corrupt politicians, vote them out, unjust system, reform it. But what if the problem is not in the system but the system itself? What if the very framework we use to think about problems is part of the problem? This is what I mean by ideology. Ideology is not false consciousness. Ideology is not believing lies. Ideology is the framework that determines what counts as truth in the first place. And right now, our ideological framework tells us that civilization equals Western liberal democracy, equals free markets, equals individual freedom, equals security, equals peace. But this entire chain is collapsing. And instead of questioning the chain, we are desperately trying to hold it together with more surveillance, more military power, more economic extraction, more ideological conformity. We are like someone falling from a building who tries to slow their fall by grabbing onto each floor as they pass. It does not work. It just breaks more windows. The Trump national security strategy is not an aberration. It is acceleration. It is the system recognizing its own failure and deciding to fail faster, harder, more completely. If we are going to collapse, let us at least collapse on our own terms. Let us call it victory. This is what I call apocalyptic normalcy. The recognition that everything is ending, combined with the insistence that everything must continue. And we, you and I, sitting here watching this, we are trapped in this same structure. We know it is ending, we can see it ending, but we cannot imagine anything else. So we just continue. We go to work, we pay our bills, we watch Netflix, we vote, we comment on social media, we perform civilization while civilization dies around us. And the most disturbing part, this is exactly what the system needs from us. Not belief, not enthusiasm, just compliance, just continuation. You do not need to believe the lie. You just need to act as if it is true. This is the final stage of ideology, when even ideology no longer believes in itself, but continues anyway, because what else is there? Let me give you the most disturbing formulation. The real catastrophe is not that the system will collapse. The real catastrophe is that it will not collapse, that it will continue limping, failing, killing, but continuing. This is what keeps me awake at night, not apocalypse, but this endless, grinding, bureaucratic apocalypse. War that never ends, crisis that becomes normal, emergency that becomes permanent. Civilization dying but refusing to die completely. Just getting sicker and sicker and sicker, and we adapt. Humans are very good at adapting. We adapt to surveillance, we adapt to inequality, we adapt to violence, we adapt to lies, we adapt to the unadaptable. This is our real talent, not civilization, adaptation to its decay. So when you ask me, what should we do? I can only tell you this. First, recognize that you are already doing it. You are already participating. There is no outside. There is no pure position from which to judge. We are all complicit. The question is not how to become innocent. The question is what we do with our guilt. And second, do not wait for the collapse. Do not wait for the revolution. Do not wait for salvation. Because waiting is just another form of compliance. If something is to be done, it must be done. Now, not because success is possible, but because the alternative is this slow death we are already living. The real danger is not that we will fail. The real danger is that we will succeed at becoming exactly what the system wants us to be. Consumers of our own extinction, spectators of our own erasure, participants in our own civilizational suicide. This is what the United States of civilizational erasure offers us. Not tyranny, not even fascism, just this comfortable, air-conditioned, high-definition apocalypse. And the most obscene thing, we will probably accept it because what else can we do?